you and your newest addition to your family. Thank you. Now that's why I'm So I would assume with having 4 kids, sleep is pretty hard, but also trying to juggle your time, having your hands full. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, as you heard, I'm a father of 4. I have 4 boys, so it's very loud. There's a lot of jumping off tables and couches, sometimes onto their brothers. So it's a very rambunctious house, but something that is so enjoyable for me. And you know, I think through everything that I've gone through, whether it's in the swimming pool or post retirement with mental health and everything I've learned about myself, for me, I've learned that I need to take care of myself before I can take care of everybody else. If my glass isn't full, I can't fill everyone's glasses up too. So for me, you know, my self-care every single day is trying to get a workout in, you know, trying to make sure my head is in a good spot. And I'll dive into this stuff later, but for me, mental health is a challenge sometimes daily. You know, I can wake up and want to just curl up into a black hole and not see the light of day and be super depressed. Or I can be super anxious and kind of have to deal with that. So for me, there are days that are struggles, but I've been able to find tools to help me get through those days. And for me, you know, I grew up with, you know, a single mother. You know, can count on one time how many times I either saw or talked to my father in 20 years. So for me, I want to be the best dad that I can be. And you know, watching them grow up has been a true joy. Now I get to watch them in sports and do all this stuff, so I'll give them some of my playbook when they get there. But it's just so enjoyable. I can't talk about it enough. Fatherhood is challenging as hell sometimes. And my boys press my buttons better than any humans on the planet. But I'd never change it. Never change it at all.
So having the 4 boys, I understand, this probably takes you down memory lane as well. Are there any childhood memories that just come up that makes you say, man, I did that. That's what influenced me on your path to success and shaped you to who you are and just making you resilient?
You know, I think it's like, I guess when I watch my 3 oldest boys now is I always see them competing. They're competing in anything that they do. I finished breakfast first. I got dressed first. I went to the bathroom first in the morning. I brushed my teeth first. So whatever it is, they're always competing. And for me, it's cool to watch the younger one, right? It's like, I have 7, 6, 4, and 1 month. So yeah, it's crazy.
No sleep.
So watching my 6-year-old Beckett try to compete with Boomer, my 7-year-old, and watching Maverick try to compete with all of them, it's crazy. You know, like I grew up in a family of 3. I was the youngest, 2 older sisters. So I was doing the same thing. I was trying to compete with them, trying to do everything that they did and trying to do it better. So, I mean, I think, as you said, like their resiliency that they're picking up now, their determination is something that is really starting to show. And I think something that's also cool that I'm starting to get into with them now is the importance of goal setting. Yeah. You know, my oldest plays soccer. Boomer loves soccer. And he goes, I want to be the next Messi. And I was like, let's go. Yeah. Like, that's what you want, 100%. I'll help you. Daddy was number 1 in the world for a long time. Like, we can get there. And I said, what do you think that means to be Messi? He goes, just scoring a ton of goals. And I was like, no. I was like, there's a whole process to what has to happen. So I'm trying to break it down for him to set little small goals. So he can set stepping stones to try to get to the big picture, wherever he's trying to go. You know, for me growing up, that's all I did. I had a goal of wanting to make the Olympic team, wanting to win an Olympic gold medal, and wanting to break a world record. How I was going to get there, I don't know. But I had a dream. My coach helped me plan, and I reached for it. And that's what I'm going to do with my kids. You know, being able to just help guide them in a certain way to help them put their passion and their dedication into one thing and see where it takes them.
So if you had to go back to your younger self, I guess now, looking at the 4 kids, you're doing that already. You're going back to your younger self. Is there anything that you would do differently? Any advice?
No. Like for me, like I have the opportunity to be who I am, and I think that for me, it's the first time that I've really been able to do that, right? So for me, I think through what I've learned through my life, you know, for a long time, I looked at myself in the mirror and saw an athlete, not a human being. I saw somebody with a pair of goggles and a cap on and a swimsuit, not somebody with feelings and emotions. So for me, I can look in a mirror and see a human being, a person. And I think through the things that I went through, I've been able to have that experience. So for me, it's just trying to help my kids work through the issues, the problems that they go through, right? Like, you know, trying to control what we can control. Right? Like that's something that's so important for me, the word control. Because if you think about this world and the world we live in, there is so much out of our control in any given day. But if you can focus on what's in your control, like what you can control, if you can focus on that, everything else will take care of itself. Period. Cut and dry. Like that's it. Like that's how I was able to be the greatest swimmer on the planet. I did the work, the process happened, and here we go.
That's good. Now, as an elite athlete, we know there's tremendous sacrifice and dedication to your sport. It's been proven through your accolades. But can you discuss some of the sacrifices, what those look like as you pursued these achievements within your career?
So, you know, for me, everything starts with a goal, right? My goal sheet, I was, you know, my coach taught me how to write a goal sheet when I was 11 years old, 10 years old. And I started writing down what I wanted to accomplish that year and what I wanted to accomplish 4 years down the road. And every single day I was gonna make like little small improvements. Does anybody in here every single day wake up and feel like $1,000,000? That you can do absolutely anything you put your mind to, every single day? Raise your hand if you're that person. Wow, I get to call some people liars today. I usually don't have many hands in the air for that, but, and the reason why I say that is because there are days where we wake up where we don't feel like doing anything, where we're tired, we're sore, we're upset about something that happened the day before, we're going through an emotional rough time, right? But in those days, if your goals are as important as they should be to you, then find a way to get 10% better, 20% better, 50% better that day instead of being 0, right? For me, in the swimming pool, if I took a day off, that's taking 2 steps back. Because every day I take off, it takes me 2 days to get back to where I was. That's why I didn't stop swimming for 6 straight years. I was doing something that no one else ever did on the planet because I wanted different results. That was a sacrifice that I made. I didn't want to be the normal. I didn't want to be good. I wanted to be great. And the greats do things that the goods don't always want to. So for me, it was, again, finding a way on those days to get that much better, that much closer to my goal. Showing up, stretching, those small things are going to help me get ready for my goal. It's the small things that end up making a big difference at the end of the day. And if you're skipping the small things, you got no chance. I'm telling you that as a fact. And if you say the word can't, you can't do something, good luck. If you say that word, I want you to remove it from your vocabulary. Because if I was saying I can't break a world record, guess what's going to happen? I'm not going to break that world record. Anything that you dream, anything that you believe is possible. There are going to be sacrifices. There are going to be things that, I guess, difficulties. You might have failures. But if you care about it enough, there's nothing in your way that's going to stop you from achieving anything. People told me I'd never amount to anything my whole entire life. I had a 6th grade teacher tell me that. Tell me I was never going to be successful. Still remember her name. Not going to share it. You know, I think, but again, like, I looked at the sacrifices that I gave up, you know, whether it was in high school, whether it was in, you know, college, like, I didn't care because I had an opportunity. I had an opportunity to do something that no one else had ever done. And for me, that was my goal. I wanted to be the first. I didn't want to be the second Mark Spitz. I wanted to become the first Michael Phelps. And I did that.
it sounds like even through challenging times, you just stay motivated on your goal, and your goal was to be the best.
But you know, like for me, because like I always thought, you know, swimming's a cutthroat sport, right? Like I won a race by 1/100 of a second. I lost a race by 8/100ths of a second. You know, it's the smallest margin of victory or defeat. So like you have to be prepared for absolutely any little small thing. So like for me, if I wasn't doing it, somebody else is going to. Right? If I'm not preparing to be the best, somebody else is going to beat me. So I prepared better than any other person on this planet. That's why I got the results that I got. Somebody asked me if I felt bad, if I feel bad for winning all those gold medals. I literally laughed at it. I laughed. I was like, no, like I literally busted my ass for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, no, absolutely not. Like, I was swimming 60 to 70 miles a week. Swimming. And on top of that, I was doing dry land 3 days a week. Oh, on top of that, I had to eat 10,000 calories a day. Oh, on top of that, I was stretching twice a day in a cold tub, getting massage, doing all of this, going to a physical trainer, physical therapist, all of these different things to make sure I had a chance. That's it, a chance to be great. I dotted my I's and crossed every one of those T's for that opportunity. So when the lights came on, I was prepared. I walked out for every single Olympic race, not nervous, excited. I was more prepared than any other person on that pool deck. I was relaxed. I was calm. I didn't see anybody in the stands. I had my headsets in, my headphones in. I was listening to music, and nothing else mattered. I wanted to get let out of that cage and rip some people's heads off. Right? I was a shark in the water when I smelled blood. Like, just get out of my way. Competing for me was my number one. So for me to make sure that I was most prepared, I had to do that every single day in practice. And again, you heard it. If you miss 1 day of swimming, it takes you 2 days to get back. So I was prepared. Preparation and the process is everything for me, like we were saying backstage.
Absolutely. And we all witnessed the physical presence that you had and the domination that you had. But where's the self-care, the well-being for yourself? I mean, the amount that puts on your body, the practice. As a former athlete myself, I went through all those different pieces and still feel some of that pain in those days.
Sure.
So what did you do for self-care?
I mean,
self-medicate.
like I guess like for me now, like I was very lucky throughout my career. I never really had many injuries. You know, I had 5 cortisone shots in 2 years in my right shoulder, the last 2 years of my career. But again, like for me, it's like I gained 40 pounds during one of my retirements. So like, you know, I've learned a lot about how to handle my body.
It's the water, right?
Huh?
It's all about the water.
I don't touch the water anymore, but yes, it is all about drinking water now.
Drinking water.
Drinking water, yes, correct. You know, I mean, just self-care in general, right? Like, I can't talk about that enough. It's, you know, for me to be the best me again now, like, that's what I have to do. And you know, that's working out, it's making sure I'm listening to what my body is telling me. I don't know, I wear a Whoop. If anybody knows what a Whoop is, my score was not very good this morning. It didn't really make me very happy. But for me, keeping track of my biometrics, like it's just so important, right? Yeah. Listening to what your body's telling you, how much you can push, how much you should kind of take a day off, maybe take an easy day. Probably not answering your question, so I'm just gonna stop.
No, I think you answered it well. I think, and when we talk to the people in the crowd, it's about, you know, just how do you everyone has their own techniques of how they take care of themselves, right? So hearing your perspective of just being able to just relax, seeing you be just at the very best for so long and still the very best. I think it's interesting to hear the steps you take for self-care. Something as simple as drinking a lot of water.
Yeah, but so, you know, like, so, I mean, yeah, it's here. Nice. Chili Goat. This is my cold tub I have on the market. And I'm saying that because I get in it every single morning. For me, that's my wake-up call. That's part of my routine, part of my self-care. It's 48 degrees. I sit in there for 3 minutes outside every single morning. It's a way for me to just reset. Some of these things help me just be me every single day. I journal when I need to. I talk to a therapist when I need to. I have multiple therapists. One that I can see in person, one that I can make a phone call to. I have friends that I can make phone calls to if I'm struggling. You know, for me, I've created a system around me that allows me to be the best version of me, the most authentic version of me, and that's what I try to do every single day. So all of these small things I've kind of learned through this process that work for me, and everything can be different for different people, right? Like my wife likes to do yoga and Pilates, right? So there are just different things that allow us to be ourselves, and if we're not taking advantage of that, and then we're not giving ourselves the best chance to be our authentic self. So you're cheating yourself.
Yeah.
So if you're not taking care of your self-care, I want everybody in here to reevaluate that tomorrow. You guys all deserve it. You guys all deserve to be the best version of yourself.
So as a top competitor, I'm going to bring up a word that I know you don't like to hear, and that's failure. But we also know through failure, that can be a stepping stone to your success. With that, can you give us a memory that's contributed to your growth, personal and professional?
Well, I didn't have many defeats. So in my swimming career, I didn't have many failures, and that was mainly because I was prepared. Again, like every single time I stood up on the block, I wanted to break a world record. Every single time I went to practice, I was trying to improve the smallest margin. And if I didn't, my failures stuck with me more than my successes did. You know, I had a couple losses in my career that I can tell you exactly every single thing that happened moment to moment still to this day. Because they just leave a sour taste in my mouth. You know, the 2012 200 butterfly is one that really sticks out for me.
Oh, I see it in your face.
Well, let's just say, had I hit the first turn, the second turn, the third turn, or the finish with any amount of momentum, I wouldn't miss. That's also the reason that I probably came back in 2016. So, everything happens for a reason. That happened for me in 2012 in London. I took a break. In 2016, I came back. I won the 200 butterfly, won the 200 IM, four-peating it. And I just said, okay, cool, I'm done, bye. But, you know, the failures for me, it's motivation. If you want success, you're going to have failures. That's just how it happens. If it was easy, every single person would do it. And every single person would be the greatest of all time. But that's not how it works, right? So failures are always going to make you stronger. It just depends on how you handle those failures. Don't think it's the end of the world if you don't reach a goal. Just try a different way, right? Try to approach it in a different way. You know, if you come to a dead end, back up and try to go down a different path, right? It's not the end of the world. I think that's one thing that I learned at a very young age from my coach is we just try different things, right? Dream, plan, reach. That's my motto. Figure out a dream, figure out a plan, and reach. If you come to a dead end again, rewrite your goal, find a different path, right? Like I'm somebody I want to see this stuff visually. So I write all this stuff down. I like drawing stuff. Like I want to see what's going on in my head and I want to put it to paper. So I feel like I'm rambling again, so I'm just going to
No, I think from a dream, plan, reach standpoint, what I hear through that is resilience.
Yeah.
Right? The ability to stay resilient, to overcome numerous challenges. And you've talked about some of your challenges, and you came back and won the 200-meter butterfly. But give us some more specific challenges that you're going through, whether it was personal, whatever, that you may consider a setback or an obstacle throughout your career. And how did you navigate that?
I don't even know where to start. What do you want me to go into? Honestly, like I don't even know. Like I could dive into mental health. Like I could do 100 different things here.
I think you dive into the mental health piece of it. I think that's the piece that we want to hear about.
You know, like for me, so I guess I learned about mental health in 2004. My first taste of post-Olympic depression. I came off of winning 6 gold medals, and basically the country said it was a failure because I didn't win 7. I didn't tie or break Mark Spitz's record. So all of these headlines were like, oh, Phelps is short, blah, 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 blah. So at that point, I'm like, all right, cool, now what do I do? Like, I just had the pinnacle of my career so far, and everyone looks at it as a failure. So I had my first taste of depression there, got my first DUI. So then, 2008, I got photographed with something else. Went into another stage of pretty deep depression. Again, after winning 8 gold medals in 2008, no one's ever done it. Like, I was just lost. Entered another state of depression. 4 years later, I came back again. All of this, while I was going through it, I compartmentalized it. I just stuffed it because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know what questions to ask. I didn't know if it was okay not to be okay. So through all of this, I'm just shoving down, shoving down, shoving down. I get to 2012, I finish my career, well, I go into my first retirement. 2 years later, in 2014, I get my second DUI, and at that point, I decided that I didn't want to be alive. So that night, I remember, I'll never forget this, I went into my room. At that point, I was prescribed Ambien. I was prescribed Ambien for 14 years of my career. And let's just say I was very happy that I only had 3 pills left. I'm happy I only had 30 milligrams left. I don't know what would have happened if I had 100 milligrams or 150 milligrams. So I took those 3, not knowing what was going to happen. I woke up the next day and I said, something has to change. I said, I can't go through life like this anymore. I was hurting too bad. Not wanting to be alive was the scariest moment for me I've ever experienced. So at that point, I decided to reach for help. I didn't know who to reach for help, who to reach out to help for, but I just started reaching out to random people who were close to me. And then I decided that it was time for me to check myself into a treatment center. At that point, I spent 45 days in a treatment center with nobody who I knew, no cell service, no cell phones, no computers, nothing. To be honest, I was scared shitless for the first 5 days. I told my mom I'd never been that afraid before in my life, and then had to turn to my cell phone and never got a response back. So after those first few days, I kind of really opened up, and I decided that I was going to get help and get change. Like, just try to figure out what was going on inside of me. So for me, during those 45 days, I basically unloaded everything that I had compartmentalized for 2 decades. So I kind of got that monkey off my back, so you will. And for me, that's when I started really feeling like I could look in the mirror and see myself as a human. And as a person with feelings and emotions, not as just an athlete. So then at that point, I just started getting better and better and feeling better and better, and started feeling happy, and started talking about problems if I had it. If I was going through a struggle or a hard time, I would just share it. Not really care if anybody would, I don't know, look at me in a weird way, or I got shit on me this way or that. Like, it was just me being me, because I wanted to be me and I wanted to feel better. So going to a therapist helped me. Did I want to at first? No. But I'll tell you, the first time I walked into that door, I felt so relaxed. I was able to be me and just talk. And honestly, I make this joke, I learned to communicate at the age of 30, but I'm happy I learned. I don't compartmentalize anymore. I talk about everything that I go through, even if it's difficult. Because it's just, life is too short. And for me, if we can talk about the struggles that we're going through, we can help each other, but we can also help ourselves. For me, one of my biggest goals right now is trying to lower the suicide rate. It's gone through the roof over the last few years, definitely since the pandemic. I think loneliness has struck into people's lives more than it ever has. And loneliness is the #1 cause to depression. Yes. Depression is going to potentially lead to suicide. So if anybody in here is struggling and you haven't asked for help, find somebody that you can confide in. Find somebody that loves you for you, that you can open up and share whatever you want with. Please. Or ask for a hug if you need it. For me, when I'm going through a hard day, my sons know it. My kids see me, they see me crying. They see me upset. They see me in a bad mood. And they just walk in and give me a hug. And on those days, that's all I need, right? But, for me, when I'm in my dark spot, I try to just level myself. And it's hard at times. Like I said, I struggle damn near every day. Almost every day. But I find a way to get through it. And I find a way to get through it with help from others. And that's what I've learned. We can't go through life by ourselves and do everything on our own. We need help from others. So if anybody is here struggling, anybody in here is struggling, know that it's okay not to be okay. It is. And I want you all to be the best version of yourself. That's it. Cut and dry. Be the best version of you. If you can do that, then you're winning. I can talk about more. Well,
Michael, I'll say this, and it definitely deserves a round of applause because your openness about mental health helps break down the stigmas. I mean, we're talking about someone who's been highly competitive, highly successful, highly decorated, it's all documented. And for you to stand in front of this crowd and open up, not only personally do I think that is maybe harder than you winning a race, right, from that standpoint. So, please. For many of us, your accomplishments to me is you're like a superhero.
Thank you.
Right? Or
my kids call me Aquaman.
You know, or Poseidon. We can go Greek mythology here from that standpoint. So I think it's amazing that you can sit here today and have this detailed conversation with folks you don't know, and to be able to tell them about your struggles, whether they know it was documented or not, and give them awareness to things that are dear to your heart, which is probably dear to a lot of folks that are in here today. Is there any other practical advice on managing stress that you would like to share, or preventing burnout? Because burnout is an issue for a lot of folks, but also for a lot of those that are in this room right now.
I think for businesses and corporations, there's this one thing that we did with our foundation. It's called Mental Health First Aid. And it just gives you kind of tools to help. If you do see somebody that is struggling in the field of work or at home, just gives you kind of steps on how to approach it. I think that's the biggest thing that we all struggle with, and we don't want to trigger people, right? I think that's the one thing we don't want to do. So we don't want to walk on eggshells, but we also want to be able to help. So I think one thing that's really helped, I think, a lot of us, and I'm still learning how to approach my wife's still learning how to approach me, right? When she sees us struggling, me struggling, or I see her struggling, right?
I know.
We want to be very delicate in how we're approaching things. So I think that's been something that I've seen a lot of success in the workplace with is just seeing people that are struggling, right? Like, I guarantee you see people at work that are going through a difficult time. And maybe it's just saying hello. Maybe it's just giving them a high five, offering a hug, asking if you can lend an ear, right? It's something as simple as that. Just being mindful. I think it's something that's so important. I think, especially, again, we've learned so much about ourselves and what's going on in this world through the pandemic. So I think, again, it's back to that control. What can we control? And if we can do that to the best ability, then we're going to win.
Well, I think also you touched on it some is about teamwork. It's about, if someone needs a hug, paying attention to those certain clues, or if you see someone struggling, let them know that they're part of a team.
Yep.
So I know successfully, you've been a part of some very successful teams from that standpoint, and it's helped you with your communication and leadership. But we also know that teamwork sometimes requires some challenges. So we could all be part of a successful team, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to be faced with some things that may be uncomfortable. How do you handle those situations within a team atmosphere?
I think it's making sure you communicate, right? You guys heard me say that joke. I learned to communicate at 30, right? Like, just communicate. It's really all it is, right? If you're open, you're honest, like, everything else naturally just takes care of itself. For me, I have had some really cool team wins and relays where we all have to do our part, right? Like, there's no I in team, right? Like, so, like for us, like, when we were winning a relay in 2008 against the French by 8/100ths of a second, coming down literally to the touch, it was a Ricky Bobby moment, the whole like shake of bait coming down the stretch. Like we had to have every single little detail of that race go perfectly for us to win. So, I think that's the thing. It comes down to preparation, right? And I think everybody's going to prepare for competition or whatever in a different way. Like for me, again, like I was the guy that had headphones on and I was very focused. And if you talk to me, I'm going to ignore you. Like, just get out of my way. You know, you have Lochte is going to be the jokester and always very like easygoing, kind of relaxed. So everyone's different. So I think as long as you're mindful of that and giving each other the space, then your team can accomplish absolutely anything.
Absolutely, I definitely believe in that. But it also takes you back to the goal setting, right? As far as as long as your team has the same goals and they understand to win, that helps. When it comes to the goal setting aspect of it, you touched on it earlier today. What steps are you doing now for goal setting that's different than when you actually swim?
I mean, I guess the only difference now is I'm not writing down times. Like I was trying to accomplish times in my career, and you know, like now, you know, I have certain numbers that I want to hit for, you know, kids learning to swim in for my foundation. Right, my foundation teaches kids the importance of healthy and active lifestyles, water safety, but also important ways to be prepared for mental health struggles. Anything that you're going to come about or anything that comes up throughout your life. So, you know, all of those little things for me is just, it's fun. And I just had a brain fart. This is awesome.
Look, we don't like failure, man. That's not what we're doing.
No,
We're just chatting.
No failure.
It's just a quick chat, you know? There's no brain farts or anything like that. I don't smell anything. We're good.
I get so excited and I start going and I have like so many different things going on in my head at once, and I never like getting ahead of myself, so I feel like I have to slow down. Then when I slow down, I forget what I was going to say. So it's just like,
But isn't that a mental health technique that we're talking about now? Oh, man. Don't we all do that at times? That happens?
Deep breath.
We just do a couple woosahs with it.
Let me do my arm stretch. I'm good to go.
Well, I'll say this is that there are seasons when worker competition takes too much out of your time, right? Just like today, but this is fun. The work-life balance. How is that now for you with 4 kids, foundations, people wanting to, you know, make appearances, everything that you're doing now? Where's the work-life balance?
I would say probably preparing for an Olympic gold medal is easier than what I'm trying to do. The amount of travel that I have to do, and obviously, you know, 4 kids and a household, you know, it's for me, I'm just a routine guy. I've been a routine guy my whole entire life, and whenever I'm on the road, I stick with my routines, and I have to. I know if I get off my routine and for a day or two, then I become a grouch, I become an ogre, and nobody wants to be around me. So just
Say that one more time, because my wife's in the crowd.
It's true. Grouch and ogre, like, yeah.
She says when I get out of routine, if I don't go work out,
You have to. Like,
yeah,
my wife
looks
kicks
at
me out
me
of the
and
house.
goes, you need to go work out.
Yeah, and if I get into a bad state, she tells me, my wife tells me to go swim, and she knows I don't like to swim anymore. I don't want to get wet. I want to get wet in the cold tub, and that's it, nothing else.
All right, so looking ahead now, you have accomplished so much, and granted, I think you're
Work-life balance.
Yeah.
I didn't really answer that. Work-life balance, yeah, again, it's just routines. But again, it's making sure you're taking care of yourself. That's something that's just so important. Again, if I'm not taking care of myself, then I don't have the chance to be the best dad, the best husband, the best friend, the hardest worker that I can be. So it's just giving myself that chance. So, you know, if I'm off one day, then making sure that I'm just taking care of what I need to. That's all. Simple, keeping it simple. You have to. Taking care of the small things. Again, they're the things that matter the most.
I love it.
Shoot, it's cold. They crank this thing. Holy crap. Oof.
So you've accomplished so much. What are your aspirations for the future? Personally, sounds like being a great father and husband is one of those, but also professionally.
I mean, you heard a little bit. Just continuing to lower the stigma with mental health. You know, that's something that is a huge goal of mine. You know, there are millions and millions of people that are struggling, right? 1 in 4 people struggle from some kind of mental illness, but 1 in 4 people aren't talking and sharing about it. So that's something that I'd like to change. I'd like all of us to help each other, because if we help each other, then we can make this world a better place. And we all know we need to make this world a better place. So, continuing that, water safety is still something that's super important to me. Drowning is the second highest cause of death for children under the age of 14, and it's second behind car crashes. So for me, these are some things that are alarming and something that I want to get back and try to make a change. These are the things that keep me up every night, thinking about the next day and get me out of bed every single morning, trying to figure out a way to change. I'm not going to give up until these battles have been won. So if I'm fighting for the rest of my life to make sure that everybody gets the help and care they need and deserve, then I'm going to do it, because that is what's needed. I know I'm going to have some ups and downs and some bumps in the road that I go over and under, climb up, bust through. I'll be standing on the mountain screaming for a long time. Hopefully somebody comes up and joins me and helps me make this movement a little easier.
That's great. With that said, is there any special projects that we need to be on the lookout for that this crowd here can support you in?
I mean, I'll say it again, it's just mental health, right? Like, we all need to help each other, we all need to spread the message. It's okay not to be okay, and just to be you. Again, this world is wild, so if we can control the controllables, then we can make this world a better place. So that's what inspires me every single day, trying to make one step forward to changing the world, and hopefully I can do that. I don't know how long I'll be on this planet, but I will be fighting until I die.
Well, thank you again, Michael. Let's give Michael one more big thank you.